was a very special part of who we are today. So, yeah, it's remarkable. And one of the cool stories that I've told, there's a picture here of Winnie with one of her students named Ruby Tomato. And Ruby was one of her students when Winnie taught school in Sugarreed over by Rateau. And if I remember right, that was coal country, coal mines. And anyway, there was a school there. And Ruby Tomato lived on what they call Jack Hill, because she was Jack.
Turn the volume off. Oh, yeah.
And,
Yeah.
but
Thank you.
Winnie taught
Yeah,
her,
you got it.
and she never forgot Winnie. I went out there one day, and this was probably in 93, 94 when I took that picture. And there was Ruby Tomato. And Winnie introduced us. She said, she was my student at Sugarreed. And whenever she's in the neighborhood, she stops by to see me. Well, come find out she was in Albuquerque. And that was the neighborhood. And I found out later, a lot of that happened. There were a lot of people that, well, we were in Albuquerque or we were in Colorado Springs, just stopped by to see you. I ran into a lot of people that were ex, I won't say ex because the people at Tall Pines stayed forever. There were people that were there every year at the same time, and they got to the point where some of them became extended family because they were all, one example, 4th of July. You could count on a certain little area there. Everybody in that little area was there on the 4th of July to see the parade, and they had a big party out there. Yeah, a big party. And at one time, I was playing, I had announced the parade with Jeff Fagan, my musical partner, and they wanted us to play, so we went out there. This is when the greetings happened. And I'm out there, and we're playing, and then we get to talk to people, get to meet them, and that's how I found out what the deal was every year. And they've been coming for ever. And one family brought 4 generations. There was the kids, mom and dad, grandparents, and great-grandmother. And great-grandmother had come to Tall Pine when she was young. So it was like, I'm getting a feeling of what that was all about. And of course, all of them wanted to talk with her, even though she'd been gone a while. They still wanted, they had Winnie stories, and they had Walter stories, and it was just a remarkable thing. And that's who Winnie was. One of my favorite stories was a story that John Brandenburg verified for me. And I'm not sure of the date, but there was a time when the Chamber of Commerce thought, well, we'll have central reservations. We'll have it called the Chamber of Commerce, and that'll be central reservations. And you could get information. Well, to do it, they had to have volunteers, because they didn't have paid staff right there. And so Winnie would volunteer once or twice a week. And the story was, and John verified it, so Winnie told me this story later, when people would call and say, hi, we're thinking about coming to Red River, where's a good place to stay? Where do you think the first place she mentioned was? Tall. And that was okay, except it bothered somebody at the lodge owners. Well, this is supposed to be random, this is, but that's who Winnie was. And of course, nobody held it against her, because she didn't hold anything against Winnie for too long. One of my other favorite stories, and this will be the last one, there's a picture here of Winnie as Rosie, her cousin Rosie. That's the lady in all the red clothes. And apparently, Winnie used to tell me, she said, I'm an old ham. Well, she was. Winnie Oldham. I'm an old ham. She was a ballerina. She was very theatrical. She loved those kind of things. So one Halloween, and this was probably 94, maybe 95, I'm not sure. I said, would you like to go to the Halloween party at the Bull of the Woods? Because the Bull of the Woods always had the Halloween party. And would ask Rosie if she'd like to go. And Winnie said, and Winnie was Rosie. Winnie used to, when tourists would come visit, Winnie would go dress up as Rosie and come out of the bushes and go, "Hi, how you doing?" So if you look at the picture, she looks like a flower. "Hi, how you doing?" She was outrageous. She thought I was outrageous. And so I thought this would be a perfect time to have her. Would you ask Rosie? She said, "I will see if she'd like to come, but I'm sure she will." And so I went to pick her up, drove her down, and she walked in, and the place came apart. All the locals who were there went, "It's Rosie!" You know, she danced with Johnny Moots. She danced with David Willis. I don't remember who all she danced with. She was the hit of the party. But she didn't enter the costume contest because she wasn't wearing a costume. She was dressed as Rosie, but that was a different story. So anyway, I'm sure you all have stories. If you do, we'd love to hear them. God, there's so many stories about Winnie. I've got so many that I remember. The time we were doing an interview and filming a tour of her house in her museum with Judy Brunson. And Winnie went to a picture of her Uncle George Oldham, who was one of the older brothers that came in 1895. And she pointed out, "Well, that's my uncle, isn't that? That's my Uncle George. He went a little funny." Okay. But that was funny. She had a wonderful sense of humor. Wonderful. She was marvelous. So, thank you all so much for coming. It's a delight, and if we can, we'll just do this next year, and however long we can keep it going, to remind everybody what this town was, and what it still is in so many ways. Time has changed a lot of things, but there are still people here that it hasn't changed that way. They're the spirit of Rosie, the spirit of John, and another Rosie. and hopefully, we'll never get away from that. Hopefully that will remain forever. So have some more. Look like fun, and I love the dish and the tea. It's wonderful. Thank you again for coming.